Hersheypark in Hershey, Pennsylvania has one of the most well-rounded coaster lineups on the planet. They currently have 15 operating coasters, because you know, Lightning Racer is 2 credits. And I've gotten the chance to ride all of them. So this is now my second back-to-back ranking video. But yeah, let's get into it though. Here is every Hersheypark roller coaster that I rode, ranked from worst to best. Number 15 is Wild Mouse. Now I despise this ride. I remember being aggressively slammed into the side of the vehicle, and that happened on all of the sharp turns. And there was no padding to cushion that, so it was pretty painful. Even the dips were really janky. Mock rides has come a long way. Now they're making rides like Hyperia, Voltron, and Ride to Happiness. It makes you forget that they also built this trash. So please, Hershey, I'm begging for you guys to remove this thing and replace it with something better. Number 14 is Coco Cruiser, the park's kiddie coaster. I don't really have much to say about this other than that it's a good and smooth kiddie coaster, and it's a good first roller coaster for the kiddos. Number 13 is Trailblazer, the park's Aero Mine Train. It's crazy how this and Runaway Mine Train at Six Flags Great Adventure both opened in the same year, but Trailblazer is so much smoother than Runaway Mine Train is. I think this ride is pretty tame. It does have a pretty cool helix though. It's not anything crazy, but it's a good stepping stone for those who are looking to ride even bigger roller coasters in the future. Number 12 is Super Duper Looper, built by Schwarzkopf. This ride is pretty iconic. And it's a great first ride for those who are scared of inversions, because it only features one vertical loop, and that loop is pretty forceful. The rest of the ride feels like a family coaster, but I really enjoy how it uses the terrain. Alright, so I actually rode the original Wildcat before it closed, so while I'm only ranking rides that are currently operating at Hersheypark, I would probably place Wildcat at around this spot in the list. It was pretty rough, but it wasn't as rough as I had heard. I also felt the elements weren't really that forceful, but some of the laterals were decent, minus the roughness. So yeah, I feel like this is a good spot for it. Number 11 is Laugh Track. This is a Maurer spinning coaster. In the POVs, it looks kind of boring, but when you're actually on it, it's quite a lot of fun. I think the on-ride audio and the indoor aspect of it really adds to it. The theming just gives it that personality, so I ended up enjoying it more than I thought I would. Number 10 is Jolly Rancher Remix. I actually haven't ridden this since the retheme. I did ride it as Sidewinder. Overall, I found it to be smooth. The vest restraints probably helped, and I was really able to enjoy a lot of the inversions. The new theming and effects probably enhanced the ride, but I wouldn't know. Number 9 is Comet. So I haven't ridden this since they got rid of the buzz bars. I last rode this in 2021, and it really impressed me. The buzz bars didn't even touch my lap, so I got some really good floater airtime. Also, for a ride built in 1946, this ride is really smooth. I really gotta applaud Hersheypark for keeping this ride in good shape. I feel like Comet's got something for everyone, both for thrill seekers and for families. It's not anything overly insane, but I'd say it's still pretty thrilling. Number 8 is the lightning side of Lightning Racer, while number 7 is the thunder side of Lightning Racer. I felt like the elements on the thunder side impressed me a bit more than the ones on the lightning side. I'm only ranking these separately because there are some slight differences in both layouts, but they are mostly similar. I felt that both sides offered some good laterals, as well as some solid airtime moments. I think some of the elements are a bit weak, especially when you compare it to some of GCI's newer coasters and what they seem to offer, because I actually haven't ridden much of those yet. Well, except for Invader, but that's basically a family coaster. But I still find Lightning Racer really fun. I do like how the trains interact with each other. It makes the experience more immersive. And while I do prefer Thunder, I still enjoy both sides. Number 6 is Great Bear, the park's B&M inverted coaster. So during my last visit to Hershey, I got to re-ride this, and it was a lot more intense than I remembered it being when I first rode this in 2021. This is easily the most unique B&M invert I've ridden. It actually is a helix before its first drop, instead of the more conventional curved drop. This ride also only has 4 inversions, but all 4 of those inversions are really forceful. I also love its interactions with Super Duper Looper. You could tell Hershey really had to cram this thing in there, but they did a great job. And I love this ride's sense of speed. But still, Talon is the best invert in Pennsylvania. Argue with a wall. Number 5 is Storm Runner, the park's intimate accelerator. I can't get enough of the hydraulic launch on this ride. It's so intense. The top hat gives some great floater airtime, and the flying snake dive just has insane whip to it. I wasn't really amazed by the Cobra Loop though, or that weird wonky section of track towards the end, but Storm Runner really makes the most out of its short layout, and I really appreciate that. Number 4 is Candymonium, the park's B&M Hyper. This is the tallest and fastest coaster at Hershey. This ride isn't like crazy intense, but I find it really fun. This ride is a floater airtime machine, and it has a really great first half. The second half, it does fall off a little bit. It loses a bit of steam, and it has a lot of trims, but this is still an awesome ride, and looks really pretty, especially with the fountain, and it has a great presence at the front entrance. Number 3, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I have Fahrenheit. The 97-degree drop gives some amazing ejector airtime. Most of the inversions really impressed me as well. I found them super intense, especially those corkscrews. I found those really forceful. In some ways, this ride kind of reminds me of Maverick at Cedar Point. Not quite as good, but they both had crazy bites to them. There's also this one ejector hill in the finale that was really awesome. Like, who needs a dive coaster at Hershey when you got this? Like, this ride already has insane lines, and it's also way better than a dive coaster would ever be, in my opinion. Number 2 is Wildcats Revenge, the park's amazing RMC hybrid. I already talked about this ride a lot in my last video, so I'll make this kind of quick. This ride is an absolute powerhouse. It's so well paced. Its transitions are so quick. Even this ride's 4 inversions really impressed me because you go through them so fast. And the ejector airtime on this ride is really powerful and sustained. And there's a lot of variety of it as well. Wildcats Revenge is a top tier ride, and the fact that it's not number 1 at Hershey for me shows how great this park's lineup is. But there's still a case to be made that this is number 1 at Hershey. Like, it's all subjective, you know? But for me, number 1 is Skyrush, the park's intimate hypercoaster. This is the roller coaster that made me a coaster enthusiast. I first rode this in 2017 when I was 10 years old, and I became immediately obsessed with roller coasters. And I unfortunately missed out on Skyrush during my 2021 visit because it was closed. But I got back to Hershey in 2024, and I finally got to ride it again, but this time with the new restraints, and it was even better than I remembered. This ride has my favorite first drop of all time. You get absolutely yanked down that drop. Like, this drop is demented. This ride also features some of the most powerful airtime I've experienced on any roller coaster. You're basically being launched into the stratosphere. There are so many great airtime moments on this ride, it's unreal. This ride's also really intense. I almost fully grayed out, and I'm saying that as someone who's got great tolerance for intensity. I absolutely love Skyrush, and I'm definitely looking forward to my next ride on this thing. So there you have it. There's my ranking for my top 15 roller coasters at Hersheypark. This park has such a complete lineup, and I highly recommend it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm very passionate about roller coasters, and I want to create more content. But yeah, thank you for watching. Take care and peace out.